Okay, so I have a bit of a problem with my code right here. So what I'm trying to do is set up a script so that over time at the start of the game, the intensity of my directional light goes from 1 to 0, okay? And we're trying to do that over time in around 1 second. So attached to my directional light here, I have a script called light dimmer. And if we open up this light dimmer script, you'll see here we have a variable for our sun. And in the start function, we are calling a coroutine called fade in sun. And basically what this does is it first of all sets our sun intensity to be 0. And then over time through a while loop, we are transitioning that from 0 to 1, okay? Now, the issue comes with this error that we are getting in the console, okay? It is basically saying that the fade in sun, not all code paths return a value, okay? So we're getting an error. We are getting a red line underneath the fade in sun coroutine name right here. So have a go at trying to figure out what is causing this issue and how we can solve it, okay? I'd recommend, if you're having a bit of trouble, check out the Unity documentation for coroutines, as that might be able to provide some information. So have a go at that, and we'll be right back to see how it's done. Okay, so how can we solve this error? Well, if we go over into our light dimmer script, the first thing we need to note is that this is a coroutine function, and a coroutine function basically means that we have the ability to pause the execution of this function at any time. And the way a coroutine works is we kind of have to do that because right now we are not pausing or holding off on this function whatsoever. So essentially what we are doing here is trying to run all of this code in a single frame. Whereas the reason we're using a coroutine is so that we can have this while loop iterate each frame of our game rather than all within one frame. So what we need to do is inside of this while loop, after we adjust the sun intensity a bit here, we have to go to a new line and add in the line of code which reads yield return null, okay? Now, if we save that, you'll see that the error on the name goes away. And the reason why is because before, if we did not have that, then like I said, we were trying to basically run this entire while loop in a single frame. So from one frame to the other, the sun will be an intensity of 0 to 1, okay, or basically snap. Whereas now, we are giving it a command to basically pause the function for a frame, okay? And we're basically telling it, once it reaches this line of code, we want you to hold off for the rest of the frame and then continue on the next frame. So you can imagine on frame 1, the while loop begins, we adjust the sun intensity a little bit, we wait a frame, and then we keep going through this while loop until the intensity reaches 1. Then the while loop is complete and we are finished. So we can save this, we can then go back into our scene, and you should see that the console error is now gone. We can then make sure to give it the light property here, and if I press play, keep an eye on the intensity property here of our light, and what you should see is that it goes from 0 to 1. And there you go. So it went from 0 to 1, and that is pretty much the script complete. So once again, if you are using coroutines, you need to make sure that you are using them correctly, okay? So in our case here, yield return null, we are basically pausing the function for a frame. Alternatively, you could also use another line here, which is something like yield return new wait 4 seconds, and we can pause the function not for a frame, but for a specific amount of seconds. So let's just say we want to pause it for 0.1 seconds each iteration of the loop, okay? So if we go back and press play, you should see that the intensity is going to change a lot slower now, because instead of waiting just a frame, we are waiting 0.1 seconds between every iteration of that loop. And of course, it's going to take far longer. And this is a common issue when working with coroutines inside of Unity. Now, I do recommend checking up the documentation on coroutines, as it will give you a lot more information about the different ways that you can pause your functions and utilize coroutines to their fullest extent. So thanks for watching.